If NFTs are of interest to you, but you're not quite sure exactly what's going to be the real world use case in the future and can't understand why it's so valuable, I'm going to share with you a paper I wrote early summer of 2022 explaining exactly how I foresee the utilization of NFTs. If this is of interest to you, stick around. You're watching Netmo.
Get strong.
Hi everyone, welcome back. So to start off the video, I'm going to say that I'm not a financial advisor and this is not for financial gain. This is simply to educate the public, to give them a different perspective on NFTs and the technology behind this entire movement. This is about a source code. This is about a technology that is going to digitize non-digital items. So they're referred to non-fungible tokens. So in this video, I want to speak about a paper that I presented during the summer in a class that I took, which was about writing smart contracts. My journey began right around the time of C19, and I started to look into what was the crypto scene. And what honestly started off as a investment to look into a way of diversifying my money, I started to then look into, well, what makes a company more valuable? What is the actual use case behind the code that supports these tokens and projects? So it's not so much about, well, what is its value today? It's about how is this piece of information that is being put to use in everyday life. So just like there was information and different source code that was created prior to the explosion of the internet, with time, a lot of this different code and implementation it needed to be sorted out. And this is exactly what we're going through now with this entire crypto movement. There are a lot of different projects that represent different ideas and different processes. And this paper that I wrote is an explanation of how we can utilize NFTs in everyday life. And it's something that I believe that this paper will really clarify and allow you to see NFTs in a different way, and not so much how everyone, for the most part, is showing NFTs, whether it's in music or in a digital art representation. I would say that a lot of this is being shown this way because it's the easiest to create, because it's already starting from a digital format. It's being created digitally, and it's very easy to transition that creation into a piece of source code to then put it on the blockchain. So I'm going to share with you my paper. I'm going to read through this as I presented it in the class that I was involved with. And towards the end of the class, we were all welcome to be part of the hackathon, which is simply a way of presenting an idea and in a short period of time, within a couple of days, be able to put together a project. Now, I was pretty ambitious and I threw out there a really in-depth project, which in the end, I wasn't able to fulfill because I simply don't have enough experience to write this level of code. But it doesn't mean that the idea still cannot be implemented. If not, it's just a matter of time that the right people are able to work together on this idea and make this come to life. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of all the correct pieces coming together. So I'm going to start off by reading in June 17th, 2022. The title of this submission is called The Smart Last Will and Testament. Now, the overview A person writes a will while still alive, and its instructions are only carried out once the individual dies. A typical will names a still living person as the executor of the estate, and that person is responsible for administering the estate and disbursement of assets. The proposed smart will eliminates the need for an assigned executor. All disbursements of funds and assets are executed by the smart contract. The smart will is the key instrument used to ensure that the estate is settled in the manner desired by the deceased with frictionless processes. All funds and assets are tokenized and recorded on the blockchain as NFTs defined by the contract owner. And as a footnote of NFT, a non-fungible token is a unique digital identifier that cannot be copied, substituted, or subdivided, that is recorded in a blockchain and that is used to certify authenticity and ownership. The execution of the smart contract will reference digital addresses and/or legacy depositories predefined by the contract owner, the deceased. Thus, the smart will can execute the wishes of the deceased without any misinterpretation and additional legal support, which usually comes at a cost. Legacy accounts and traditional asset management will continue to be functional in our evolving digital lives. For this reason, the smart will must have the option to support a hybrid structure of digital and non-digital assets. Non-digital assets consist of items that have been appraised and tokenized as NFTs. Process. Item 1. Select your smart will. The smart will can be completely digital, supporting but not limited to NFTs, metaverse properties, cryptocurrencies held in hot or cold hardware wallets. Or a hybrid smart will includes digital and legacy accounts that are represented by tokenized assets. Item 2. Provide a list of assets. Based on the smart will chosen, the contract owner provides a list of accounts and assets to be dispersed along with account specifics. Item 3. Provide a list of recipients. A list of recipients along with digital wallet addresses and legacy banking information. Suppose the recipient does not have a digital wallet. In that case, one will be assigned upon the creation of the contract, and the account information will be provided upon smart will execution for redemption. Item 4. Contract transparency. The court system can retrieve the contract information by accessing a sidechain if the information should require referencing. Item 5. Initializing the contract. In early adoption, the contract will be initiated by means of a multi-layer authentication of the contract owner's passing validated by an oracle. In this case, the oracle is a third-party service that connects smart contracts with the outside world, primarily to feed information in from the world, but also the reverse. Information from the world encapsulates multiple sources so that decentralized knowledge is obtained. In time, the entire process would be fully automated when the passing of the owner is recorded in the city's Department of Records, registered on the city's own blockchain. Utilization. The trustless smart contract will is adopted by lawyers and legal entities that can provide legal services in the Web3 and forward platforms. The contract can be created by the service provider with the in-house developer toolkit, or use a cloud-based Web3 interface that simply requires the inputting of the collected information, similar to the functionality of the IRS filing system. The service providers are incentivized to adopt the format, as fees are collected for processing the application for smart will, and additional predetermined payments are dispersed to the service provider when the smart will is executed for legal fees if desired by the contract owner. Takeaways. The terms tokenization and digitizing assets are spoken more and more, but with slow growth in real-world use cases. This one document unlocks the opportunity for local businesses to provide a service that is recorded onto the blockchain, which provides additional peace of mind that family and loved ones will be taken care of. The contract puts to use tokenized property and valuable assets that will be dispersed. These additional services will create jobs for developers and appraisers that can coexist in the new Web3 work environments. The developers will use the information provided by the appraiser to create the NFT for legacy assets. Oracles provide a way for the decentralized Web3 ecosystem to access existing data sources that define the specifics of the tokenized legacy assets. Decentralized Oracle networks, also known as DONs, enable the creation of hybrid smart contracts where on-chain code and off-chain infrastructure are combined. In the upcoming years, I foresee the hybrid contract being most utilized since older individuals own traditionally recorded legacy properties and assets. In the future, as the younger generations mature, all digital contracts would appear to be most used. Submittal considerations. This submittal is presented as a conceptual outline that I envision as a functional mechanism that can exist across several blockchain networks, facilitating the disbursement of assets as described above. So this was the paper I presented, and this is to understand that as we move more real-world items into the digital space, we need that information to be recorded and, as they say, to be digitized. So I want to explain somewhat of an example of how we do this and how we've been doing it, not necessarily as a non-fungible token, but I'll use an example baseball card. Now this is a Nolan Ryan 1982 baseball card by Topps. Now this is not authenticated. It's protected and it's part of my collection, but its value is not recorded because I have not had it processed, let's say by one of the most well-known authenticators out there, which is PSA, Professional Sports Authenticator, yes. That would be an example of how you would take an item, submit it to them, they would appraise it, and now authenticate it, give it a value, and so now this is an asset that can be recorded. Now, although it's recorded and it has now a value, it's not digitized. So we want to think about an NFT as doing exactly that same process, but now that information is recorded on a blockchain which cannot be changed. That information now lives on the blockchain, it can be accessed. And when we talk about the NFT having smart properties or implementing a smart contract, then what that would mean is, let's say this was a tokenized asset. It's converted into an NFT. We've now digitized it. The smart aspect of that card would be when it exchanges hands and is sold from one person to the next, the smart contract would say, if this and this happens, then this happens. Or in other words, if this card is sold for $100, then 5% of those $100 from every sale or every hop or exchange of hands means that the original owner would get 5% of that sale. So this is why when it comes to artwork and NFTs, it's such a big deal, because now it allows an artist to create a piece of artwork which is easily recorded in digital medium. That artwork is then sold, and when that artwork is resold to someone, the smart chain or the smart contract is then going to say that money has changed hands. We are now going to pay royalty rights defined in the smart contract. Whatever the percentage is, that is defined in that smart contract. So that's why we see such a huge movement of NFTs in digital creations, whether it's artistic or musically, because it's the simplest way of getting this new technology into real world use. It's very easy to do this. Taking a smart will now requires a lot more steps, because now it does involve a function like an oracle, which is a third party, and the smart contract is going to say, let's look at the oracle and what it says about this, right? So the smart contracts or the chains need to flow and work very quickly. And so there is a minimal amount of code or data that is stored on the chain. And we can't really put everything on there, because then that would impact the transaction fees and the functionality of that chain. So the purpose of the oracle is to say that information is going to live off the chain, or perhaps it's variables that are constantly changing, meaning the values of these items are changing with external markets. And so that's not a hard value that's going to be recorded. So the contract is going to look to the oracle and say, what's its current value? Okay, it's going to take that data and it's going to include it in the next step carried out by the smart contract. So in the world of a law firm that would write out a smart last will and testament, now we have new players, new people that can play a role in this law firm. Meaning it's not entirely just about, let me have someone who has studied law, but we can have someone who is very good at writing code, that's able to create a smart contract. So not every lawyer is going to have that ability to say that they understand all the ins and outs of writing a smart contract. So this allows for the creation of new jobs, new positions, new firms to provide more products to their clients, and not just your traditional everyday services as we see today. So as a recap, NFTs do have a place in our future lives. And as long as we understand and we really think way outside the box as to how this is being used, not so much about a picture or a piece of music, but everything in our lives that we want to record a value and digitize so that we can then resell to someone or record and know that that information is always going to be available for ourselves in the future or loved ones in the future. I hope that information has helped and has clarified a lot of what is heard on NFTs. Thank you for watching. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. You're watching Netmo.
Be strong. Be strong.